Hello and welcome to episode 2, which kind of can't really think of anything to call it other than, well, what you've already seen. It kind of sounds corny, but it's also partially the truth. Welcome to episode 2, how video games taught me to love again, I guess. Maybe it's just how Breath of the Wild taught me to love Zelda again. This is why I said in the first episode, they're not all going to have titles, because eventually I'm going to run out. The fact that I'm struggling on episode 2 is a problem. So, tiny bit of housekeeping, I forgot to do it in the last episode. My next door neighbour has decided to take up playing darts all day, every day, thwap, 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 even on Christmas Day. So if at any point you keep hearing thwap, 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 it's like the wood hitting the cork, hitting the, like, vibrating all the way through. It's as soon as the dart hits it, it like hits everything, and it's awful. Every room in this house hears it. It'll go until like 3 in the morning. It's driving all of us mad, let alone the person who suffers from severe migraines. So if at any point you do hear it in the video, I apologise. I have to wear special headphones that kind of block out as much noise as possible because of it. And it means that I don't usually hear it, so I especially don't know if the microphone picks it up or anything. I don't even know if it's happening now. But, yeah. Breath of the Wild. So, if anyone who watched the last episode will know just what Zelda means to me. But between Majora's Mask, which was the sequel to Ocarina of Time, and Breath of the Wild, I didn't really love a mainline Zelda game. I'm trying to remember if Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons came out after Majora. I think it did. Pretty sure it did. But either way, they're not mainline games. But we had Wind Waker, which I have never been the biggest fan of. I never liked the back end. I didn't like how much content it cut. I literally managed to beat the entirety of the Game Boy Advance version of A Link to the Past just in the ceiling sections of Wind Waker. I was never really that great on it. Then I'm trying to think of direct mainline ones after that. I think there is only 2, because obviously all the other stuff I'm thinking of is like DS and that. So we had Twilight Princess. It's one of the most boring games I've ever played in my life. I have never ever found any joy in that game. I beat it without dying the first time. 55-hour save file and no deaths. It's like, it was so easy, it was monotonous. I didn't find the puzzles challenging. I didn't really like any of it. I thought the open world was completely dead and pointless, and there was never any reason to explore. So yeah, didn't like that. Then we had Skyward Sword, where the motion controls were awful, which makes no sense, because the motion controls in Twilight Princess were actually one of the only things I liked about that game, and I don't know how they ruined them for Skyward Sword. If you remove the motion controls, which they eventually did, I do actually think it's a much better Zelda than a lot of people give it credit for, especially because I've heard so many people say so many negative things about that game that I have said about The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. I can't remember how to... there we go. It's not the minus button, it's the plus button. Anyway, I just don't get the hate, because, again, everything people slate about it, I would say about Wind Waker, and it's like, it feels unfair that Wind Waker's the one that's lauded and Skyward's the one that's hated, and I'm like, I actually think most of the sins that one commits, the other commits, and some of them commit them worse, and I would rate Skyward better than Wind Waker, personally, but I still wouldn't rate it as, like, an amazing game. So, the Switch gets announced, Breath of the Wild gets announced. Granted, Breath of the Wild got announced on the Wii U, so we'll start from there. Breath of the Wild got announced, and I was so done with Zelda, I was even petty. I'm like, despite the blue tunic being my favourite tunic in Ocarina of Time, I was so angry at Zelda as a whole. I was like, when the blue tunic was revealed, the new shirt, essentially, for Link, I'm like, oh, yeah, and now here we go again, changing everything. And then that added sci-fi elements as well, and I was like, I play these games for fantasy, I love sci-fi, but I play them for fantasy. So, I didn't really want to Switch, didn't really want Breath of the Wild.
Now go.
I was getting to the point where I couldn't afford to keep maintaining my Dreamcast collection, and I managed to sell it for such a mint that I actually got my entire Switch and all of the accessories and everything completely free. So as soon as I worked out the cost, I'm like, you know what, screw it. This really is my last go. Like, this is it. I hate myself for even doing this. But I'm buying a Switch and I'm buying Breath of the Wild. And then this happened. Now, it wasn't all this. The Nintendo Switch, annoyingly, didn't used to warn you that you were about to cancel a download. It took almost 9 hours to download 93% of Breath of the Wild when my download was cancelled. It took another 5 hours to start from scratch, so at least it was faster the second time. So yeah, the first 16 hours of me owning the Switch was basically downloading Breath of the Wild. The next 16 hours of owning the Switch was playing Breath of the Wild. I was having a migraine spell, just couldn't sleep, in absolute agony. And this game, like, I've already had an episode about how gaming saved my life. That when you are chronically ill, there's so many different things that you need as a distraction. This game was the distraction I needed at the time when I needed it the absolute most. And I don't know how I'm ever going to love another Zelda again, because now that Tears of the Kingdoms came out, I know fine well that this is done and they're going to have to do something. So many people complained and want all Zelda back, and I'm like, no, please, please, no. Please, can we never, ever, ever leave this, because this is perfection. From the very moment that I put this game on, I did have a personal vendetta against it. I really didn't want to like it, which sounds silly, I know. Like, there was the part of me that I, of course, wanted to like it. I'd spent a load of money, and I needed the distraction, and I wanted to love this. But I was so burned by so many bad titles, not just the mainline ones, but including the DS ones, and I never even finished Minish Cap. I was just so done with Zelda. So the fact that I then put like 200 hours into this game is something short of miraculous. It almost done absolutely everything I could ever want from a Zelda game. It was like the Nintendo monkey paw wish thing that everyone always brings up. It, for everything that it gave me, I wanted it gave me something that I wasn't quite happy with. All of it got fixed with Tears of the Kingdom, and it's why Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, for me, they're one game. I know they're not, but what I'm about to say might make why I feel they're one game more valid. Maybe not. Everyone says that the Great Plateau, and then it kind of got superseded, I think is the word. It kind of got outdone by Tears of the Kingdom's Sky Plateau, essentially. Why can't I remember the name of the actual area? It's basically the Great Plateau, but in the sky. The Sky Island where you start. This is the greatest tutorial in all of gaming. And people said that. And then, as I say, people said, no, actually, Tears of the Kingdom's the greatest tutorials in all of gaming. I'm going to take it one step further. It's not Breath of the Wild's Great Plateau that's the greatest tutorial in gaming. It's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild as a whole. There isn't a single minute you spend in this game that won't benefit you in Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I have beat this game 3 times now. I've done the Master Quest. Actually, I'm on Master Quest here now, because there's not enough save files, so I've had to start the Master Quest. Just literally, it was the only place where I could actually start from the start and do that setup. Which, if I have to cancel this video and start all over again, is going to be heartbreaking, because I kind of couldn't have set it up better. And maybe I should have set up for it, but I am so going to get killed. Yeah, Master Quest was a bad idea while I'm talking. Especially, oh yeah, I did actually get another weapon, didn't I? So yeah, I went in just being so done with Zelda that I almost didn't want to love it again, because I just had that pettiness about me that I'm like, Nintendo have taken something I cherish so much and ruined it. And then they did this, and it's like, all is forgiven. All is forgiven, like seriously, all is forgiven. Please just make more of these. I know that we're probably not going to get them. I would like nothing more than for a third style of this game, but not in this Hyrule, because that's one of the things that people complained about the most. But I would love nothing more than, like, maybe take us to Tamina, take us to Lorville, take us to one of the other areas, take us to a brand new area, but please give us this freedom. Because part of the pettiness, I refused to believe, because Nintendo had lied to so many people about so many things. When they said that you can go anywhere in this game, that you can have total freedom, I'm like, you're lying. You're getting my hopes up. I know fine well you're lying. It's bullcrap. It's what you do, Nintendo. By the time I'd beat the tutorial, I lost that pettiness, because I started to believe, oh my god, they really are letting you do whatever the hell you want. I didn't play a single quest in this game. Like, I got up to Kakariko Village and talking to Impa, who basically told me the 4 corners of the map to go to the Divine Beasts. And then I didn't do them. I did everything else in the game. I have finished the game fully. I haven't 100%ed the seeds, the Korok seeds, because it's something I want to do now that it's kind of easy to do it on the Switch 2 version, but I just didn't want to do that at the time. But I defeated every monster for the Monster Quest thing, so all of the Taluses, all of the Lionels, etc. I beat every shrine, I beat every side quest, and then I started the main game. I just literally, I wandered around the entire map. I would run away, like I'm doing now. I would... Oh, I've just realised I don't actually think I have the ability to do this. Oh, yes, I do, apparently. Then again, maybe I don't. Basically, I would pull up the Sheikah Slate, point in a direction, put a marker, and then because when you beat the tutorial, and maybe I should have started prefaced with all this. The tutorial area of this, for anyone who doesn't know, you beat 4 shrines. Shrines are basically one-off puzzle room, but not really. Sometimes they have more than one room, but in the tutorial area, it's kind of one simple puzzle. And you do 4 of them. You get your first upgrade, which in this case is a heart or a stamina thing, although I think you have to choose heart. Maybe that's in Tears of the Kingdom. And then you get a glider. And as soon as I got the glider, it was like, well, there's a mountain over there. I want to glide over there. So I ran all the way over there. I found the ability to get horses, and I would just constantly open, and it is going to let me do it. It must have been because I got hit. Open, place a pin on, usually on one of the towers, which at the moment the towers aren't up because I haven't unlocked them, because I haven't done the tutorial, but it would be a case of, oh, there's a tower over there, point, ping, go. And then you get like a sensor that shows you where well, not shows you, but it's like a sonar for where the shrines are, and suddenly it was like, I know how many shrines there are in this game. I know there's 120 shrines. I don't know how many I can do without doing any of the story. Turns out, technically 116, but then there's actually, you can do 117 or 118 if you know what you're doing, and then you can glitch into one. I think you can kind of do 119 of the 120 on a technicality if you truly know what you're doing. But at the time, it was considered 116 without actually doing any of the main story. And I forgot that I don't have the glider and just jumped off that bridge, which is going to be my second death real soon. Again, starting this on Master Quest was probably a bad idea, especially because I'm going to be seeing spoilers anyway, so maybe I should just now go to a different file now that I've set that up, so I'm going to do that while I'm talking. So yeah, I would just get lost, quite literally, and part of it was by being in severe pain, and I needed something to do, and I would just literally run around, trying to find every shrine, trying to do everything. Whenever I found a quest, I'd do the quest, and eventually I got to the point where I actually beat the game. Rolled the credits, absolutely loved it, but had some complaints. I'll say them now. The Divine Beasts, not as good as Dungeons. The bosses, a little samey. I really didn't like the final boss, and how when you actually beat it with all of the Divine Beasts completed, basically half of Ganondorf's health goes straight away, making the fight ridiculously easy. But for the most part, everything I've ever wanted for my dream Zelda, I wanted a Zelda where the whole point is you played as Link who's failed. That's this. Link wakes up after 100 years after having failed and has to fix Hyrule because Hyrule's in a really bad state. I wanted that for the story. I wanted the level of freedom and exploration like what you used to have in older games. I wanted just like things to do, and for a lot of people who get probably rightfully so uppity about the weapon system breaking and about how the Hyrule isn't technically that expansive and there's not a load of things to do, I still found that there was more than enough stuff for me to sink my teeth into and to really enjoy it. But I understand there were some genuine complaints, and as I say, I was with a lot of people on a lot of them. And all of it got fixed for Tears of the Kingdom, but that will be like brought up when I'm actually in Tears of the Kingdom. And I forgot I actually left the castle just so that I could fast travel, and then I'm getting stuck in because I really don't want to be running around an area with a load of guardians and lightning on a 3-heart challenge file whilst I'm shaking off some rust and talking about all of this. It's not going to end well. But yeah, I truly think this is one of the most masterpiecey games. And the Switch 2 version especially, it fixes a lot of the frame rate issues and graphical bugs that it had, and it's just everything about it, from the fact that the game wants you to break it. I never expected to be able to do everything I've just told you about. As I said, I genuinely didn't expect that level of freedom, let alone the fact that when I actually then did story sections, I'd actually get unique dialogue. I'd get, well, what do you mean you've already done this? Why didn't you tell? Like, they did code in so many different things, and when I replayed the game on the 3-heart challenge mode, I actually knew even more about it, obviously. I got even more unique dialogue because of the order of events that I did things in, because I ended up skipping some areas and doing something. Everything about Breath of the Wild is just freedom and exploration, and it is one of the most breathtaking games, no pun intended, that I've ever played. And I understand there are some very valid complaints, as I say, and I understand there's some people who really don't like these sorts of games and want them gone. And I feel for you. Like, I know what it's like to go decades without having a Zelda that you like. So trust me when I say, as much as I think you've actually kind of got another 7 years to wait before you hit my levels of pain, I do feel your level of pain. I do understand why you want to go back to original style Zelda. And I hope there's a way to kind of like do the two mediums here and make everyone happy, but I don't think there is. Because even the weapon system that everyone complains about, I absolutely love, because I was so sick of just constantly using the same sword over and over and over again, and oh look, it's the bow and arrow dungeon, and now I get to use a bow and arrow, and oh look, it's the hookshot dungeon, and oh look, it's the blood moon dungeon. Oh, not that that's a dungeon, it's just, oh look, there's a blood moon. It was maddening that playing a brand new Zelda game for the first time felt like I was playing a brand new Zelda game for the 50th time, and I was really sick of it. And I've beat this game 3 times now, and there's still more ways that I actually want to beat it, because there's still more ways that I can beat it. I've still never actually done a proper playthrough where you just play this game normally. I will always do the silly things because I enjoy doing them and it's fun. This is what I enjoy about them. I enjoy just doing things in the most surreal, batshit way because I can do them. And there probably are other people out there who've done similar. But at the same time, there's the freedom that these games have. It's the fact that I know there's events that I've done that no one else has ever done before. I've had moments that are absolute batshit. The first time I ever defeated a Guardian in this game, I finally got to the point where I felt like I was able to fight a Guardian. And it was the Guardian on Death Mountain. And I knocked it off the mountainside. And I immediately leapt off a mountain and equipped the paraglider and went down. Only to see a second Guardian turning the corner. And I was like, I'm fucked. I am so fucked. I finally felt like I was able to fight one Guardian. And now I have 2. I beat them. I don't know how. I locked in. I parried one of them. I managed to finish off the one that I'd knocked off the mountain. I managed to then break every single weapon I had. And I literally only had bombs left. And I was running around throwing bombs. But I beat my first ever Guardian. I beat 2 Guardians together. It's things like that. It's moments that I'll have done that probably other people wouldn't have. That might not have been other people's first Guardian. Maybe it was one of the others where there's 2. That there's so many different unique things that you can do in these games, so many ways that you can discover, and it's the fact that the game's language is perfect. It teaches you everything you need to know, and it actually teaches you some things, some methods to do. As simple as creating fire, there's never one way to just create fire, and that's this game in a nutshell. There's still things that I don't know how to do because I've never needed to do them because I've found 4 different ways to do the thing that I want to accomplish. It is absolutely staggering just how much effort they put into this game and how much exploration and how many different unique ways to solve puzzles and solve shrines. There's never just one solution to do anything. And I'm going to miss if they remove that level of freedom, because it's so fun doing certain challenges, doing it where it's a case of, I'll do a 3-heart challenge run now, I'll do a I'm not allowed to upgrade armor run, I'll do a I'm not allowed to use more than one set of a piece of armor. So for example, like I'm currently wearing one set of the Hebrew gear. I don't know why I keep hitting the wrong button there, because I don't actually think I ever got around to collecting the rest of the Hebrew gear in this one. The snow quill trousers, yep, I don't think I did. So it's just different ways that you can challenge yourself, different ways to actually play the game to add more replayability, that I could probably beat this game another 2, 3, 4 times this year and still not get sick of it. But I try not to do that, because it's one of those, I want to come back to it when I need to come back to it. And it's the same with Tears of the Kingdom. And every time I play one and then replay the other, I'll have learned something else in one of the games that I'll then think, huh, I learned that in Tears of the Kingdom. Will that work in Breath of... Yep, it works in Breath of the Wild. I learned that this time. Will it work? Yep, it works in Tears of the Kingdom. It's just, yeah, this is one of the greatest video games ever, and I honestly don't mean it as an insult when I say it. It's one of the greatest tutorials in all of gaming. I'm circling back to that, because I truly do mean it. Breath of the Wild is a tutorial for Tears of the Kingdom, and playing both, they're absolutely fantastic. I really, really wish that we had a Master Quest for Tears of the Kingdom, because it would give me another excuse to play that game, because I've only actually beat that one twice. However, the 3 playthroughs of Breath of the Wild are probably collectively less time than the 2 playthroughs of Tears of the Kingdom, purely because of how big Tears of the Kingdom is. I don't really know what else I would want to say about this. I'm gonna, not so much waffle, but I'm gonna say, I started to record videos in June. I've been wanting to try to get back to this for ages, and this is when I noticed that some of the June footage got ruined, and there's also some stuff that I'm not willing or ready to talk about yet, because I don't know how best to bring it up, but I will, and I know fine well it'll be Alan Wake 2 when I do it, but I'll need to figure out how to actually record on a PC. But I have actually recorded hours upon hours of footage for Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart World and so many other games that I now don't know what I said in them. So it's kind of like that's gone now, and I don't want to just like try to sit here remembering. But I'm hopeful that I've brought up all of the important stuff at least. And apologies if you just heard like a noise in the background. I forgot that I had an alarm going off to remind me to take a medication, again being chronically ill, and I actually took it just before the video. I took it a little bit early just so that I could turn the alarm off, and then ADHD brain forgot to turn the alarm off, so hopefully it wasn't too loud or distracting or anything. But yeah, to circle back then and to essentially end the video, I didn't want to just try to recreate that video anyway, and this is a totally different thing, because that was actually a review that then led into a hyperfixation thing. I was still trying to find ideas for what I wanted to do, and it's kind of evolved into this instead, and I'm happy with how this has went. And it's one of the things that, as much as I couldn't really think of a title other than to see how it taught me to love again, just doing this video has kind of also taught me that it's okay to let things go and to change up what things were meant to be. And just because I may not have mentioned everything that I mentioned the first time I recorded this video, maybe I've still actually done what I needed to. I think that's what I was trying to get to. So I'll kind of end it with this Hinox fight and just messing about. Obviously, you may notice that I've wore like the basic armor and the boring armor. That's part of this challenge run that I actually set up for myself. I made sure that this was the only armor set I was allowing myself to upgrade, so the pure basic defense, which may not seem like much of a challenge because, oh yeah, I've used the defensive armor on a 3-heart run, but I did this because obviously there's so many different combos with the armor that you can do that breaks things, and so many overpowered things, and there are actually way better sets than this, so I just went for the basic thing of, yeah, I'm just going to go for flat armor. No frills, no bonuses, no anything like that, just basic flat armor. And yeah, it's something that if you are watching this and you've played Breath of the Wild before but haven't actually stretched the boundaries of doing different things, I would recommend trying to do a playthrough like I did, where you do the shrines first. You get the power glider, obviously. You have to do the imp thing, I think. To be fair, you don't have to do the imp thing, but the imp thing allows the dragons to appear, which I didn't remember on the 3-heart playthrough, and I got to a point where I was trying to get the dragons to appear, and I'm like, what? Why is this not happening? I know for a fact I should have the dragons by now, and then it turns out it's because I've done even less quests on the 3-heart playthrough. Which, by the way, slight sidebar of a side story. The day that I actually found my first dragon, which my first dragon was Farosh, I was just like floored. Like, there's so many moments of this game where I stopped for a moment and I was like, what the hell am I looking at right now? This is absolutely beautiful. This is phenomenal. The dragons was definitely one of them, because I was running across Hyrule. It was raining, it was lightning, and I'm like, I started to hear this amazing music, and it obviously, anyone who knows anything about this game knows that music only plays when something's happening, really. And it's like, why am I getting this music? And why does it sound familiar to and suddenly I looked up and there's just this fucking dragon flying through the sky, and I'm like, there's dragons in this game? There's literal dragons in this fucking game. What? Yeah, everything about Breath of the Wild is just, it's a masterpiece. Even the issues that I have are no longer issues now that Tears of the Kingdoms came out. I can forgive it for the sins. I really can. Every issue I had with this, even though I've replayed it and I still have those slight issues, I'm like, it gets a pass because they really did listen and fix them with Tears of the Kingdom. If they hadn't, they would still be driving me mildly insane that I'd be this close to one of the most perfect games ever, but I'd have these little tiny bits. But because they fixed it with Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like, you know what? I'm fine with them. I'm fine with them in this. I'll class it as a tutorial in Tears of the Kingdom, and it's all one game, really. And when you see it as all one game, it just gives me absolutely everything I want, but also gives me a bunch of bonus stuff. So that's ultimately the way to live. I truly do want to see these as 2 games, and I know a lot of people do, for a reason, because they are. It's the same game. It's part 1 and part 2. It's a tutorial and then the main game. If I haven't already spoiled enough for you, if you have never played them, I strongly do recommend trying it. And as I say, if you have already played them, I recommend getting out of your comfort zone and playing them in a weird batshit order. But all of this tangent is still part of the end. This really is just the way that my brain is these days. I would like to know how you beat Breath of the Wild. I would like to know your story. This is something that, again, I might not bring it up in every episode, but at the very least, while I'm starting this, I did say in the end of the last episode, I want people's stories because I want to eventually get to the point where I can do an episode and read some of them out, read out my favourite ones. So yeah, tell me what Breath of the Wild means to you, how you beat it, what you did. If you had any of the same teething issues I did with 93% downloaded, with 30 minutes left, and then it got cancelled because you accidentally caught a button on the controller and there was no, are you sure you want to cancel downloading? I hate that Nintendo didn't put that in day one. I was one of the people who cheered. I almost cried. Oh, actually, I didn't even get around to the DLC. This video's about to get longer. I almost cried when they finally added that feature in because I'm like, finally, this will never happen to anyone else again. But speaking of crying, the DLC. The Champions Ballad, I think it's called, or the Gale of the Champions Ballad, or whatever it is. They obviously added a challenge mode thing. Really liked that with making the Master Sword more powerful. But the actual DLC, where it adds a story, I genuinely cried my eyes out when I finished that because that was more impactful. That story was more impactful than the end of the actual game because, again, with the lackluster boss fight, I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story, and it did, bring a slight tear to my eye, but I was full-on bawling with the end of the Champions Ballad DLC because I truly love those heroes, those champions. I like Urbosa, Daruk, Rivali, I've just realised. It sounded like I said Rafali, with a PH, but it's a speech impediment thing. Rivali. And Mipha, my absolute favourite. I absolutely love Mipha. To be fair, I love Rivali as well. I love the ones that people tend to hate. I've always loved Falco, and I love Rivali. Falco, obviously, from Star Fox. So yeah, I really, really love those champions, and the way the story goes in the DLC, I was like heartbroken with how it ended, even though I knew how it had to end. It was like a gut punch, and I was crying my eyes out, which, yeah, cannot say enough good things about this game. I truly cannot, and I could waffle on for even longer, but I'm glad I did remember to at least cover the DLC, because, yeah, that was its own separate video. The last time I did this, it was a review, then it was a DLC video, and then it was the hyperfixation thing, so it's why I probably forgot about then just covering the DLC. So, yeah, Breath of the Wild, it's fantastic. It's just fantastic, and again, it got me through one of the worst pain spells of my life. It was like 3 days straight of just playing 16 hours a day, sleeping barely any hours at all. Because obviously, you may be thinking, well, 16 hours, yeah, that leaves 8 hours for sleep. Do remember I had to, like, do other things, you know, like use the toilet, eat, do dishes, things like that. It really was a case of I was having like 4 hours sleep because of the pain, and then the rest of the time I was just playing Breath of the Wild. And eventually, the pain spell ended, and I was able to really enjoy my time with Breath of the Wild instead of Breath of the Wild being the thing to keep me sane. It became something that I was just lost in and really, really enjoying. Yeah. So until the next time, this has been another episode, and I will do a slight tangent again. I know at this point I'm probably making people go, just finish the video already. Obviously, the first 2 videos have been Zelda. I have a lot of other things I want to do. At some point, I need to do Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom might turn out to be episode 3. Maybe I just finish Zelda all in one go. It's not as if there aren't other Zelda videos I want to do eventually, but maybe it's like the way the story of my life has gone. I should do Ocarina, Breath of the Wild, and then Tears of the Kingdom. Or Tears of the Kingdom might wait, and it might be Mario Kart. It might be Elden Ring if I figured out how to get the PC to set up, or if they ever eventually release the Switch 2 version of Elden Ring, because I'll buy it again. I want it handheld. It could be a lot of things, but what I'm saying is, if you're already sick of Zelda, don't worry, they're not all going to be Zelda. A lot of videos are going to be Switch related, purely because that's the thing that I've finally managed to sort all of this software out so that I can actually do this. But it's not all going to be Zelda, it's not all going to be Nintendo stuff, it's not all going to be Switch 2 stuff. I will cover a lot of classics, there's stories that I want to tell for a lot of things, and eventually I'll also get better at telling the stories, because I do sometimes worry that I end up missing things out, and I know I'm not a great natural storyteller because I'm a ADHD tangent person, but all of these things, like, will develop as I get back into doing videos. Hyrule wasn't built in a day. It certainly wasn't destroyed by Ganondorf in a day, and it wasn't saved by Link in a day. So with that though, I am now finally done. This has been the episode over, and I'm not trying to steal intros from other people, but there are YouTubers who do say things, and I caught myself ending the last video with one, but it is something that I have kind of adopted, because I do quite like it. I don't know what time zone you're watching this in, or what time at any point, but I think it kind of just works well as a good closer, so I'm going to most likely say it again. This has been Sky Fellowship, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!